In this video I'm going to be covering the construction of our enclosure for the Pi camera. I'm using an ABS plastic box and I'm going to drill a hole through the lid, through the center of the box, so that the Pi camera can poke out. The drill bit is a 47mm circular saw, so that will give our Pi camera ample room to poke out the lid. So we need to drill the hole through the center. I'm using a bit of wood to protect the table underneath, and we need to make sure that we keep the little plastic cutout that we get, because we're going to be attaching the actual camera module to that little circular piece of plastic that comes out. On top of the plastic, I'm going to then place an acrylic dome to cover the camera, and I'm going to seal that dome on with CT1 sealant, which is waterproof and strong. Once we've finished drilling the hole through the box, we're then going to move on to gluing the camera, the Pi camera, onto the little piece of circular plastic that we get. And I'm going to use super glue in this instance. You could definitely use screws, perhaps it would be better. I think M2 screws are what you need for the Raspberry Pi camera, but super glue works just as well, really. I mean, it's absolutely fine. It glues it down and it holds it well. The other advantage of just using something like super glue is it reduces the amount of stuff you need to complete this project, because I think it would be very difficult to buy just 4 M2 screws and their standoffs. You'd need to buy loads, so let's just go with super glue. And then once that's attached, once the camera's attached and sort of in a workable condition, we're then going to use 2 plastic strips. In this instance I'm just using a cut up old library card. I assume you'll have something similar lying around. I normally have 1,000,001 bits of old rewards card or whatnot, and I'm just going to glue these onto the little circular piece of plastic, and then after that's glued on and set, we'll then be able to use these sort of plastic wings, as it were, to attach the camera back to the lid of the box. So spread some super glue. I'm using a fairly liberal amount just to make sure it sticks and holds. I'm just going to slide it under sort of in between the camera and the plastic and hold it down until it glues solid. And I'm going to try and avoid getting lots and lots of super glue on my fingers and making everything much harder to do. So anyway, once we've got that sort of glued in, and again it's in a workable state, we can move on to attaching it to the lid of the box, which again I'm just going to use a liberal amount of super glue. Try and use the rest of this little tube up, and I'm going to then place this through the hole and then into the lid of the box. And I'm going to make sure that the ribbon cable for the camera is orientated sort of to the long side of the rectangle. This will just give me a bit more space to work with when it comes to attaching the Raspberry Pi, and it'll help give us sort of make it easier when we're throwing a bunch of batteries into the bottom, so that nothing pulls on the Raspberry Pi. Anyway, so once that's attached, we can now attach our Raspberry Pi to the lid of the box. I'm just going to be using super glue to super glue it down. I've attached some sort of standard motherboard standoffs to the Pi, and I'm just going to put a little dab of glue on each of the standoffs, and then I will attach it to the box. I want to make sure that I've got easy access to the SD card and easy access to the ports on the Raspberry Pi, as well as making sure that the GPIO pins are facing towards the back of the box, so when I attach the Witty Pi real-time clock, it'll all fit nicely and there won't be any clearance issues with the back of the box. So I'm just going to place that down, hold it again, wait until it sort of goes tacky and I can work with it, and I'm just going to give it a few prods, and then that's all it really is, really. I mean, that's all the computer, well, apart from the Witty Pi, that you need attached to the box. And then after that, I'm going to attach the plastic dome to the box. I'm using CT1 sealant. I'm just putting a nice sort of fairly liberal amount around, but not too much. I don't want it squeezing out and down into the camera dome and getting everything mucky. So I'm just putting a good amount on the sort of the rim of the dome, and making sure that you don't get any in the dome. CT1's good as well because it will dry clear, so if you get a bit poking out, it hopefully won't matter too much. And there you are. I just hold that down. It takes about 48 hours to glue solidly, but it'll be stuck on in minutes, really. And that's all it is. That's all the computer you need. Everything attached. Then this lid can just be screwed onto the rest of the plastic of the ABS box, and it's big enough that I can throw a huge amount of batteries in there if I want. I mean, I've only got the 2 cells and then the 20,000 milliamp hour battery, but I could definitely get a load more in if I wanted to. I've got the space, and that's it.